Hey everyone, welcome back to the Can I Ask You a Question podcast. Each week on the podcast, we are asking questions and seeking to unlock wisdom with solo episodes with myself or deep dive interviews with the most interesting people in my world. Today's question that we're going to explore is this. Is self-development a waste of time? Is self-development a waste of time? Some people feel that self-improvement or self-help, self-development, whatever you call it, it is selfish. They just kind of feel kind of icky about the whole thing and feel like maybe it's vain or it's selfish. Some people would perhaps feel that some of the skills or practices when it comes to self-development are too soft, or maybe that they only help a person at home, but not where at work where the money's made, where the real stuff happens. And they would think maybe in my personal life, but what's that going to do with my bottom line, with my business, with my career, with my vocation? And just quick pause on that. I think it does help, and we're going to get into that. But also, where are you spending that money you're earning at home? So you want to make sure that home is good and developed and beautiful. But some people would have that objection. Personally, self-development is something that I love in my own life. I love to pursue it. I love to help other people in it. It's a big part of this podcast. A lot of the questions that we're exploring are roadblocks that I have and am continuing to run into. And so I ask the question to kind of unlock wisdom and unlock an answer. And the goal is to ask those questions with you so that you can regain clarity or know how to approach a certain situation or to increase your vision or capacity to think or dream or plan, just to level up your life. So my answer is self-development a waste of time? Absolutely not. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you lean that way as well, but perhaps still you've asked this question. The idea that I can level up my life and that of my family through education and practice and habit building is just amazing. It's liberating. I love, one of the particular ways that I love to engage in self-development and growth is through reading books, right? Audiobooks, regular books written by men and women who have achieved greatness, who have learned a wise lesson, have been a part of a historical moment, right? And have value that they can share. Many times these authors, they've spent a lifetime gaining insights and sometimes, many times years condensing them and clarifying them into a book that you or I can get for around $15 on Kindle or an Audible credit, or maybe a little more for a hardcover book. But man, $15 for years and years of someone's wisdom. I love the ROI on that. I love the opportunity on that. Just think about how much it would cost to sit down for 8 hours, which is maybe what it takes to read sometimes, let's say a biography, just guess in there. But think what it would cost for consulting for 8 hours with a former president or with a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. That's going to be an expensive consulting fee, and yet and probably in some ways more rich. I'd love to do that because you can ask specific questions, but in other senses, probably less clarified and condensed because they haven't spent years preparing for that meeting the way they spent years clarifying and writing a book. And so, hey, I'll take both as the opportunity arises, but I just love the value of books for self-development. Something else I've been getting into and then I'm actually now a part of is YouTube. I've become a huge fan of YouTube. I guess I just thought it was, I didn't value it the way I should. I guess in my head I was still thinking like 20 years ago when it was cat videos or something. But just now the wealth of resource of both entertainment and educational resources on YouTube, it's probably, it's definitely my top two favorite kind of places for media when I just kind of want, for all kinds of stuff, long form, short form. I was going to say when I just want something shorter, like 20 minutes, but nope, sometimes it's a 2-hour video. It's pretty amazing. I'm loving that for self-development. To those who think self-development is a waste of time, I'm just going to tell you, I think you're missing out on a massive opportunity to level up your life. And, I'd like to convince you over this episode, if possible, to maybe open your thinking and embrace some of the principles and practices of self-development. I believe that they have a massive opportunity, as I said, to help those around you. And so we're going to go into some of those benefits. But first, what is self-development? What in the world am I even talking about? You might be wondering. So I'm going to give you kind of a broad definition when I mean self-development. First, for me, I use it essentially synonymously with self-improvement. So, the value of self-development, the value of self-improvement, I would see those as kind of the same. And lots of the books or the classes to help you, other people or maybe the bookstore would classify it as self-help. Self-improvement, self-development, I think is synonymous. A lot of times they're going to call those resources a self-help book or a self-help resource. I don't know totally how I feel about the term self-help. I think it gets a bad rap. I don't know really its origin or where that even started. But kind of here's my thought on it. When I visit a doctor, I don't call that self-help. I just call it help. But for some reason, if I buy a book from that doctor and I read it myself, it's a self-help book. Maybe that's because it's a bit like a self-serve soda fountain. You pour your own, you walk up instead of going, to the register and they get it for you. You're accessing it directly, but there's still someone providing the ingredients either way. You're still getting help outside yourself. And if I did have one critique about the term self-help versus self-development, self-improvement, it would be the implication that all the resources you need to level up are already in your own head, in your own heart, in your own body. The reality is that when I seek self-development and when we seek self-development, it is actually a very humble acknowledgement that we don't have all we need, but others do, that there are resources and knowledge and experience and ways of approaching things and thinking about things that are out there, not inside of us, that we have to seek out and learn, and then we're applying, we're bringing into, incorporating in those practices or beliefs or resources into our own lives. So I think, back to that very beginning, some people would say, self-development feels selfish, it feels self-centered, and that can be a really not nice, not healthy motive of self-development. There are probably lots and lots of narcissistic people who kind of are using self-development as a way to sort of idolize themselves and stop doing it. Stop worshiping yourself. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be very not only for yourself but for others, and it can actually. And I think if done right, there is an implication of humility because you're actually recognizing that I don't have it, so I'm developing it. And sometimes I don't even have it in me. I have the potential to have it in me, but I got to talk to someone else. I got to honor someone else and learn. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And so, when we're describing what it is, there's different terms for it. A lot of the resources are self-help, but it's not. Ultimately, it's actually getting help from others for yourself, which I'm not exactly sure what other kind of help there is. I'm usually asking help for myself or for someone else, but from an outside party. So we'll move on from there. Some of the tools of self-development, when I'm talking about self-development, it's okay, well, where would I go for self-development, or what would I do as a practice of self-development, of increasing, my capacity and whatever else. Some of the tools, one is books and audiobooks. For anyone that's not a major reader, I am I love to read and have through the years. I actually couldn't read till I was a little bit older than I think the average age, which is interesting. But then I just fell absolutely in love with reading. And man, gave me a couple hours sitting on a couch with a nice warm drink and a blanket and a book, and I'm a happy man. So as a reader, I just want to give those who are not readers permission to count audiobooks as real books. Audiobooks, maybe I'll get some hate on this one, but audiobooks are real books. Now you can argue cognitive this or cognitive that. It's a different experience than reading it. That may be true. But to me, you get like 80-90% of the value. And in some ways, I think you get more value because you can actually get more of them into you as you're doing different things. Now, I call myself a reader. I keep a list of all the books I read every year as kind of a point of accomplishment and to see what I did. And yet, well over, I think, half of all those books now are read partially or entirely read, air quotes here if you can't see me, through an audiobook. So, just for whatever that's worth, if you want to, a lot of times actually, if it's my favorite book or something, if it's one I want in my library, I did an episode on building your own personal library. I will eventually, finances allowing, I'll get like a hardcover or like, like a soft cover, but a physical book of it. I'll get a Kindle and I'll have the Audible. And sometimes I love Kindle Whisper Sync when it allows it. It will actually allow you to it will keep your place in your reading and listening. And I'll do both. I'm really trying to pound through a book. But a big place to me, it's kind of, ever since for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, books, I think, thousands, the written languages, it's just a miracle to me, that way that so much life and wisdom can be passed through a book. So that's probably tool number one. Obviously, as a Christian, the Bible, it's our holy and sacred text. It's the word of God. It's a miracle on page, and it's my core source of guidance. Then I have all these other books that while they don't stand up to the level of the Bible, have just been so fundamentally helpful to me. Other places we go, move a little faster here, are articles and newsletters. So you might have different, websites or blogs or newsletters that you go to for stuff. Another one is podcasts. You're listening to a podcast right now. Man, that's another one. Podcasting. I just love it. The way it's kind of liberated and democratized, I think would be the term. The ability for different guys and gals to just get on there, get a microphone, grab a camera, and talk to us, and who have a lot to say and value. It's just so cool. It's just, you have so many options when it comes to podcasts, and so that's a great tool. YouTube, I already talked about. Kind of that world of YouTube and podcasts, they kind of overlap a little bit. So if you want to watch it, if you want to just listen to it. Social media, I'm on it way less. I'm not enjoying it the way maybe I did before or whatever. Maybe I'll get back on, but there are clips and there are people you can follow and posts and links to other stuff that can be a source of self-development, as well as obviously a source of a lot of distraction. So use it wisely. Classes, online classes, in-person classes, classes that are live and you interact with the teacher, classes that are pre-recorded. As you're doing most of self-development is some form of learning. It's kind of, I've heard this phrase before. We use it in the school that I help lead, and it's this idea, and we got it from another school, I believe, and it's but head, heart, and hands. And ultimately, I want to develop at different times all three. I want to be developing my mind, and developing my emotions and my heart and that internal part of my world. And I want to be developing hard, be kind of soft skills. And then I want to be if you can't see me, I'm kind of pointing to my head, pointing to my heart, lifting my hands up. And then there'd be those kind of hard skills of your hands, the work of your hands, the things you're doing. That's kind of self-development's going to probably fall under a head, heart, or hand category. And so classes then are going to help you in one or more of those. Coaching is another one. I think that this is one that you should earmark money for long-term is counseling, coaching, personal hands-on instruction, where you've got the knowledge, but then a practitioner is able to potentially save you many, many hours cutting through the noise and just telling you exactly which resources to do, exactly what step to take. That being said, I think I'm better off having, I would say, due to financial resources, had to learn a lot myself. I think that I having gone kind of the self-directed way and having to dig in deep, I think it's made me appreciate it in a way that if someone had just told me the 5 things to do, I'd have saved time, but I'd have had a less broad understanding. So that's probably a topic all of itself. Be a learner, do some self-learning, self-help, get the books, ask your own questions, do your own trial and error, within safety precautions. But then at some point, I think getting an expert in there to guide you. And so what I just said there with trial and error, just, keep yourself safe. I'm not saying anything crazy. Technology, this would be kind of self-development adjacent. Is when I'm thinking of self-development, I'm literally thinking of developing myself, but ultimately, adjacent to that is just increasing my capacity to accomplish what I want to accomplish in life, both for fun, both for work. And so technology, buying technology and learning technology, and or like, so a lot of things now are software and technological, but it could be mechanical as well. It could be a different hardware, or I'm trying to think, like if you're a builder, a particular, what do they call it, a power tool that you learn how to use, and that increases your ability just to accomplish what your mission in life. And so that's kind of self-development adjacent, but to be a tool of self-development. The other one, kind of self-development adjacent, would be supplements that are, so in the area of health, we've been getting into some different health supplements to make sure our full diet is good and we're getting the nutrients we want. And it's towards the goal of developing my body, but it's the tool. It would be an outside tool, would be the supplements or different diet things, getting the right just meals. And, you could expand upon that in so many different areas of your life. And then ultimately, head, heart, hands. You're developing yourself. You're going to need to do practices. At some point, you're going to have to take what you're learning and put it into practice, almost always, to really solidify it and appreciate actual gains from what you're learning. And so there are practices that increase your capacity in a specific area. This would be a tool or a practice of self-development, right? Maybe you decide, I'm going to increase my prayer time 5 minutes a week for a month. So every week I'm going to add 5 more minutes, either at a different time in the day or to my main prayer time. Maybe you decide to walk an extra mile. Maybe it's learning one phrase in a new language. Those would be practices that are actually applying and incorporating into your life, almost like a transformer. You're growing and you're expanding, and now you're a person that can speak a new language. Now you're a person that walks quite a few miles every single day. Now you're a person of increased prayer. And so these practices of self-development are going to be huge. The habit building. I love the overall concepts of James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and I really love his newsletter, the I think 321 newsletter sent out every Thursday, and his concise thoughts just around behavior change and habit change and goal achievement. So shout out to him. And there's these practices of self-development. Okay, let's keep moving on. You doing good? I'm going to take a drink of water. My giant water bottle here. It's locked. Yes, my water bottle is locked so it doesn't spill. I lock myself out of the water, then I unlock it and drink some water. Okay, so we kind of described a little bit what self-development is. Now let's dive into some of the amazing benefits. Okay, benefit number one is this. It helps you gain what you don't have. Self-development helps you gain what you don't have. There are a lot of things that I don't have yet. There are a lot of achievements. There are a lot of resources. There are a lot of experiences that there's a lot of wisdom and personal development that I don't have yet, and I want to get it. And self-development helps you gain what you don't have. When you increase the value you add in to something, guess what? You increase the value you get out. It's not always immediate, but it's all but guaranteed. It's what Scripture, or at least Christians, we would call the law of sowing and reaping. Different passages in the Christian Scripture talk about you sow a little, you're going to get a little back. You sow a lot, you're going to get a lot back. I think Christian and non-Christian alike is pretty much universally acknowledged this idea of, I think a term would be like reciprocity, that what you're putting in is ultimately what you're going to get out. And so if there are things that you're wanting, if there's growth you're wanting in your life, in your relationships, in your business, and just your own personal life and enjoyment, then embracing this habit and lifestyle of self-development, what makes it not a waste of time is it is to me one of the greatest ways to expand the pie of your life, to gain what you don't have. And so that's number one. It seems so obvious, at least to me, as someone that just loves self-development, that's all about self-development, and yet I will pause on it because not everyone is doing it. Maybe you're not doing it, and I'm not doing it in each place. I think sometimes we get so focused on what we want that we stop to being proactive and actually saying, well, what would it really take to achieve it? Let me say that again. We get so preoccupied with what we want, and that we start wishing and wanting instead of working and planning and breaking it down into logical steps. And so you're like, well, I want more money. Okay, what skill would you have to develop within yourself that would make you eligible to earn more? Well, I want a richer relationship with my wife. What skill relationally would you need to add and develop, whatever that area is? I want to expand my connection with God. I want more connection and relationship with God. Okay, well, what area of kind of the core spiritual practices, let's say of prayer and fasting and righteousness and forgiveness and worship, and we could go on and on. What area do you need to level up in so that you can experience it? So self-development helps you gain what you don't have. Let's not miss that vital truth right there. And it's one of the reasons why it's not a waste of time. Number 2 is it helps you do more with what you do have. Their life, I was thinking about this like yesterday, and I know other people have basically said this very similar thing. Life is like 99%, I don't know, waiting and basically on the way to your goals. Most of life isn't on the mountaintop having achieved your goal. It's on the road pursuing the next goal. I think of, let's say, the life of an actor. If they're very, very lucky, once in their whole life, they're going to stand at the Academy Awards, hold that award up, and say thank you, everyone, and be so appreciative. So one night they get to celebrate and hold the Academy Award trophy, and then they're the winner for the rest of their life. But it's like a one night big high and celebration. The rest of their life is spent being the actor that earned them that award. Right? So many things are like that. Most professional athletes will never win the national championship of their sport. And if they do, maybe they'll win it once, twice. It's absolutely amazing when they win it 3 or more times. So most of the time it's spent pursuing the goal, pursuing that thing. But in between what you don't have and achieving it, there's what you do have. And self-development helps you optimize and enjoy what you do have more. Self-development helps you do more with what you have. As I increase my capacity through knowledge, skills, habits, or connections. Maybe another area of self-development we don't really talk about is relational development. It's once again kind of self-development adjacent, but I'm from my own self-interest, from my goals and those of my family, I would want to keep building and cultivating relationships so that they're there when I need them, and vice versa, I can be helpful. But as I can increase my capacity in these different areas, I learn to use the same resources more efficiently. It's once again another easily overlooked principle that two people with the same tool are not necessarily guaranteed to produce the same result. Two people with the same income are not guaranteed to draw out of that income the same level of enjoyment. Very likely, one will do a better job at drawing out from the same income a greater level of enjoyment and fulfillment with less stress and so on. I'm not a big pro sports guy anymore, just not what I watch as much. But I think most of us know Steph Curry, a world famous, one of the best basketball players. And I'm pretty sure that Steph could use just about any basketball, from a little child's basketball to the best, NBA approved basketball to great effect. Steph knows how to use a basketball really, really well. And there are a lot of other people that could take the same basketball but can't do a tenth of what he can do with it. And that would go with just about any single thing. Gordon Ramsay can take the same ingredients as me but produce something that's probably 10 times, perhaps more delicious than what I can do with that same, tuna, mac and cheese, and a couple of ingredients. Because often it's not, and I've, once again, I don't know who told me this, but I've heard this saying essentially, it's not so much what's in your hands, it's what's in your heart and in your mind and in your ability to use what's in your hands efficiently. And so self-development, to me, it is that leverage that takes the same resource while you're growing and increasing your resource, because it does that too, and allows you to use it more efficiently, right? I come from the world of church and nonprofits, and you don't always get to choose your volunteers. In fact, you almost never do. You can choose who you want to maybe kind of go after and invite, but ultimately, the team you got's the team you got. And if you're going to go forward, then you got to learn to use them well, and not in a misuse them, but to utilize them well. And you may be facing limitations. Here's the weird thing is, I've heard basically interviews from film directors that have $100 million budget, and they still feel the constraints of the budget based on what they want to do with it. And people obviously so you could have a lot of money and you're still going to feel budgetary constraints, external constraints. You could have a little money, you're going to feel constraints. So let's get good at using efficiently what we have while also increasing the capacity and pushing back on those constraints at the same time. So that's number 2. Number 1 helps you gain what you don't have. Number 2, it helps you do more with what you do have. I love self-development. Number 3, it's accessible to everyone. If you're listening to this is probably not you. You are probably already being proactive and doing what you can, seizing the opportunity of self-development. But if you just, stumbled upon this podcast and you're wearing your sweatpants and it's 12 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, I'm glad you're here. And I just tell you, man, don't waste this opportunity to start developing yourself, to start growing. There is no excuse. There's no excuse to not engage in self-development. It's accessible to everyone. There's a story of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and at one point he had $7 to his name, and he's now worth, I believe it to be hundreds of millions of dollars. And it was such a shaping moment that he actually named his production company $7 Productions. You can have very little and still participate and take advantage of the principles and practices of self-development, and you can go from little to a lot. The amount of self-made millionaires and so on, I believe, way outweighs those who inherit their wealth. You can achieve wealth in one generation. There's always an exception. There's always these things, but as a general person, particularly if you're in the developed world, you can raise wealth in one generation. You can change your family tree in one generation. You can be the first to graduate college. You can be the first to join the ministry. You can be the first to break free of old patterns and addictions. Self-development is accessible to everyone, right? The amount of low cost, low space, low time opportunities to grow are nearly limitless, at least in the lower levels of your development. And we'll talk about that later. Then there's a cost as you go higher, and there's this kind of law or principle of diminishing returns as you seek a higher and higher level of excellence. But at the starting point, literally you could be like, I have no, what did I say here? I have almost no money. There are so many free things that you can begin to do in self-development, right? The library is a great gift, is one example. YouTube, if you have access to the internet, which almost everyone does, is a great example. Most of the resources I listed above, podcasts, articles, are free. There are so many low-cost opportunities, low space. You could be like, literally, I just don't have a lot of space. I own 2 pull-up bars, one where I work, one at my house, and so you literally just you place it in the door hinge or door frame of your door, and I place it there. Do some. Right now I'm on chin-ups. I'm working my way up to pull-ups. That's a major healthy exercise. And then when I'm done, I set it down, put it in the corner, and I'm good to go. You don't need a lot of space to let's say level up in your physical fitness and health, right? You could literally be in a tiny room, and there are things you can do with little space. You'd be like, I don't have a lot of time. There are so many habits that if you would do just 5 minutes a day, it would you could revolutionize your life. You could achieve amazing things, goals that you've always wanted but never thought was possible. If you add more money, you could probably increase the speed and capacity of your growth. If you have more space, that's amazing. There are things you can do with it that you can't do without it. If you had more time, that is amazing. You can optimize it and do things more of something each day, and potentially therefore achieve it faster. There's actually some concepts and principles that say that work expands to the time you have to it. I would say it's probably true of the budget. So limitations are actually usually a gift. You probably will not optimize it the more and more you have. But hey, if you have those things, great. But if you don't, it's no excuse. And I'm not here to dog on you. I'm not here to down you. I'm just saying, man, take advantage of it. It's accessible to everyone, self-development. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and I want to ask you a favor. Would you rate and review this podcast wherever you are watching or listening? So if you're here with me on YouTube, I never like videos on YouTube, but apparently you can like them. Like this video. You can comment. I'd love for you to comment wherever you're watching or listening, just to know you're out there, see what you're thinking, what you're liking, what you're not liking. Let me know. And then if you would wherever you're at, rate it and review it. That's going to help spread the show. And once again, I just want to know you're listening. I can see on the stats that you are, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, over on Apple Podcasts or wherever, or Spotify where you're rating it, and let other people see what you like about it. Rate me honestly. If there's a couple things you don't like about it, great. Maybe you'll say he's too into self-development, and everyone will know that you're probably a lazy slug, and that they should probably listen to my show. I'm kind of teasing, but yeah, share a real review, and I'd appreciate that. And I am teasing. I'm not calling you a lazy slug. And most of you, if you're listening to this, you're not. You're hustling. You're working hard, and let's do this thing together. So that's just my quick favor that I ask of you today. Rate and review the podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Now let's jump into reason number 4 why self-development is not a waste of time. One of its benefits is the ROI, the return on investment of self-development, is off the charts. It's absolutely amazing. I may do a podcast just on this one thing because I didn't take the time to nerd out as much as I would have liked to. I didn't put nearly enough time on this particular thing just to tease out how truly amazing dollars versus rewards, time versus rewards and results, self-development is. Sometimes to develop yourself or your skills, it's going to cost a lot in time and money. I kind of mentioned that as you go up higher. Sometimes it will cost money, paid to a teacher, a coach, a certification or membership, but the ROI on that is off the charts. So the ROI is essentially limitless when you're putting in very little time, or it costs you no money, but you suddenly have a skill that can make you money. I'm seeing these different certifications. I think there's one from Google, and I think some of the tech companies have these where apparently they'll train you for free and get you certifications. That's wild that you can then theoretically use to get a job and maybe even work for them. I didn't look too deeply into it. So the ROI on free opportunities is absolutely basically unlimited. But even when you're paying good money, I think it's worth it. I intend to spend lots and lots of money over the next decade, as kind of the money comes in my hands first, and then I can spend it, on self-development, on coaches and training and courses and certifications and leveling up, because I love the ROI on that. Okay, so let me prove it to you. Okay, one particular proof of this. Okay, why is it so valuable? Is it the knowledge or the experiences or the skills or the character development? It goes with you for a lifetime. And actually, arguably, it goes with you into eternity, in the sense that, and I don't know everything about how heaven will work, but we're eternal beings, and we are promised, those who put their faith in Jesus, that our sins are forgiven, and we're going to ultimately live with Jesus and with the Father forever. And so this is really the beginning of a journey. But just for simplicity, let's just stick with this lifetime. When I learn a skill, I get to keep that skill. I'm at the time of this audio, I'm just turned 34. I'm 34 years old. I'm hoping to live into my 90s. If I learn a skill today, I could get 60 years of enjoyment and return on investment from that. Some investments, it's a 5-year bond, or I think that's how bond works, or a 5-year certificate of deposit, or it's a skill that's gonna, certain skills, they will become obsolete. Like I have some books on early social media, a printed and physical book that's probably so out of date, it's laughable. It's like, I'm just making this up, but it's like, plug in your dial-up internet, wait 5 minutes for the first screen to pop on, and type your message. It's not quite that old. But so some things will go out of date, but ultimately, particularly when it's principles and skills, those things are going to be with you for a lifetime. So just the longevity of how long you're going to get to enjoy it. Then what would be the term? I guess the transportability of self-development is, so when you learn a job skill, let's say at a certain company, you could leave that company, hopefully on good terms, but you could transfer to a new company, and maybe you don't keep your badge, maybe you don't keep your company, computer, your company car, but the sales experience you take with you. The marketing experience you take with you, the leadership experience you take with you, the technical expertise, and you're probably leaving because you're getting paid a higher job wage for those exact skills you learned at the first job. At a new job, you get to take with you. So the longevity and the portability of investing in yourself is just off the charts. We could dig in deeper on that. There's a guy I really appreciate, Brandon Turner, and he talks about, I don't fully understand this yet, I want to dig in deeper, but I think he calls it like an asymmetrical bet. I didn't do geometry in school, so I don't really fully know what asymmetrical is fully referring to, but essentially, from what I get, the concept is, I'm making myself sound dumb, but hey, nonetheless, it's true. Hopefully I'm not dumb, but I got to figure out what an asymmetrical bet fully is referring to. But what the concept is, he talks about it, from as I get it, is essentially these bets where your downside is very low, but the possible upside is astronomical, is super high. It's an asymmetrical bet, and that's how I look at self-development. Is it's like, okay, so you learned a new computer programming skill. The downside is whatever money you spent on the class and the time spent. But the upside could be, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions over a lifetime, if that suddenly is added into your career, or it's used for you to create an app that then could make you literally a multi-millionaire. And so there are just so many examples like that. That's why I'm a huge fan of Bible college, is and classes like Bible research and hermeneutics, and learning how to read and decipher the Bible. It's a skill that's going to be with you for your entire life, and the fruit and wisdom from the greatest book of all time, the Bible, that you're going to appreciate from the investment of self-development early is so high and so potentially eternally altering in a good way, that I just love the ROI of self-development. Can you see I'm a little passionate about this, that I care about this? Number 5, as we're starting to move towards our close here. Self-development, self-improvement. It doesn't just help you. It doesn't just help you. And this is pretty amazing. Allie and I, we've been putting, as I've been saying for the last couple episodes in the podcast, if you've been with me, if you're just joining in, hey, jump back, listen to this one, go back to the back catalog and enjoy them, and then keep on with the ride. But I've been talking about this a little bit off and on. My wife, Allie, and I, we've been putting a lot of time into developing our physical and nutritional health, trying to make sure we're getting out there and working out, and then we're eating meals that are healthy, doing some supplements, cutting away things that are not healthy. So we've been putting in a lot of time, and we're both individually going to benefit from that. But one of the biggest motivations isn't what it's going to do for me. Is for Allie, I don't believe it's what it's going to do for her. It's what it's going to do for our 2.5-year-old daughter, our little princess, right? It's this idea that we're raising our ceiling as high as possible, our threshold of understanding, capacity and understanding, experience with eating nutritious food, and even cultivating our tastes to enjoy healthy foods, because our ceiling is going to become her floor. what becomes our normal, right? What we make our normal, that's going to become her normal. And we have this chance to increase our capacity. We have this chance to develop ourselves and train ourselves to think better and more holistically about health and about nutrition, and actually prevent her from ever gain and drop off bad habits so that she never has to pick them up. Drop off bad habits of eating super unhealthy foods so that she just never has a taste for those junk foods, and she appreciates real and whole and healthy foods. The opportunity for us there to self-development is not just about you. And this is a huge driving factor for myself. I hope for you, maybe you're like, I don't think it's selfish. I think the ROI is good, but what about the needs of everybody else around me? What about all that other stuff? And it keeps you perhaps from developing yourself. There are times when you got to say, hey, my personal growth goal, it needs to be slowed. I believe that's true anyways. And I got to go help someone else. I'm not making an absolute always, recommendation here, but I do want you to realize that sometimes the very best, I believe often, and if for no other reason than it's what's most in your control. So one of the very best things that you can do for your family, for those around you, is to practice that self-development, because it's going to, as you unlock doors, it's going to make it so much easier for you to lead them through those doors into a better life, right? I'm not just curious for myself, another way of saying this. You're accumulating generational wisdom that you can pass on, that I can pass on to the next generation of all those we love. Right? So this self-development, this seeking of knowledge and wisdom and experience, it's not just about us. And sometimes, because some things take a long time, in some cases, even with, let's say, the fitness stuff, there are certain things, I'm still young enough that it's not such a case. Maybe you're 60 years old and you're like, does it really matter if I add this habit of physical health? Like I'm not trying to play Steph Curry at one-on-one basketball. Well, at 60, you still got grandkids that are going to be watching you. And so leveling up isn't just about you. It can also be about those around you. And you may get to enjoy a little bit of the benefit of that growth, but those around you, you could be setting them up for a full, and they're young, a full lifetime of benefiting from the growth that you had in your own personal development. So I just love that self-development isn't actually just about me. It's actually a great way to serve and help other people. Wrapping up here. Do you still think self-development is a waste of time? Or are you pumped to keep pursuing your own self-development? Are you pumped to see some of these benefits and gain what you don't have and optimize and enjoy what you do have, and do it not just for yourself, but to really change your family tree and level up and make it easier for those around you to then level up? Are you pumped to jump in? If so, here's my question for you today. I would like to end with a question, something you can apply. I don't want to just entertain you in this podcast. That's part of it. But I want to help you actually level up your life. I want to help you actually see real fruit and change that benefits you, that benefits those around you. And so I'm going to end with this question. What's the number one place? What's the number one category that you need to begin developing in your life? Pause. Take a moment. Is it marriage? You just go, man, the thing that's draining, maybe here's a little tip. What's draining your life the most? It sounds weird, but your life energy. What's that thing that, it's like, before I optimize my car and put in, I don't know anything about cars, but I change something to make it go a little bit faster. I want to fix the flat tire. What's the flat tire on your the car of your life that probably the first thing, if for another reason, just the urgency of it that needs attention? Is it your marriage? Is it your parenting style, your skills, the practices? Just need to be more involved with your children? Is it your health and fitness? Is it your finances, your personal finances, your investments, your retirement? Is it your business, your nonprofit, that organization that you're a part of or that you lead? And it just needs some attention right now. It needs some development, and you need to develop some skill to help move it forward. Is it your faith? Are you just saying, man, a lot of other areas of life are good, but my faith, I've let it kind of grow, the field grow fallow. Do you need to develop it? What is that area? And I just encourage you, start today. Dive in, not tomorrow, but today. At the very least, I think one of the simplest things you can do is send yourself a message, send yourself an email, or write a note or something. Focus on fill in the blank. Begin to develop myself in this area. Start today. With that, I just want to ask you again, would you rate and review the podcast, or if you're watching or listening, send me a message. Let me know what you liked about today's podcast in the review, like a comment, and let me know something you didn't like. Let me know something you disagree with. I'd love to hear both, just for some fun, but rate and review it wherever you're at. And with that, thank you. God bless you. And guys, I'll see you next Tuesday with another great episode. With that, talk to you later.